My wife and best friend secretly plotted to destroy my life, but I uncovered their plan, exposed their lies in court, and watched them lose everything they tried to steal from me and my children. I never thought the woman I married would one day look at our children like they were mistakes. My name's Logan. I'm 35. And for most of my adult life, I believed I had it all figured out. A steady career in construction engineering, a cozy home in a quiet Colorado suburb, a beautiful wife, Samantha, who once looked at me like I was her whole world, and two amazing kids, Brielle, 8, and Mason, 5, who were my pride and joy. Life wasn't flashy, but it was ours. It was real. Until it wasn't. The cracks didn't show overnight. At first, it was little things. Sam getting more irritable, rolling her eyes when the kids laughed too loud, taking hours to respond to my texts, blowing up over nothing. I chalked it up to stress, maybe some cabin fever from being a stay-at-home mom while I worked 12-hour shifts. Then came the empowerment podcasts she couldn't stop listening to. Forums filled with women preaching that family life was a trap, that husbands were parasites, that motherhood was a curse. Sam started quoting them casually during dinner conversations, laughing about how women like her were waking up and burning down the old life. I didn't realize how deep it had gotten until one night, after a particularly grueling day at work, I found Brielle sitting on the laundry room floor, hugging her knees. She flinched when I reached for her. My heart dropped. She used to sprint into my arms when I came home. When I asked what was wrong, she just shook her head and said, "Mom said not to bother you." You hate us when you're tired. I swear, I almost dropped right there. I never said anything like that to my kids. I love them more than anything, but the damage was done. Over the next few weeks, the house grew heavier. Like some invisible fog was suffocating us all. Mason started wetting the bed again, something he hadn't done since he was 3. Brielle stopped drawing pictures and writing little stories like she used to. Sam, meanwhile, became colder, almost mechanical. She didn't even pretend to smile anymore when the kids showed her something they were proud of. One night, after putting Mason to bed, I overheard Sam in the kitchen on a call. She didn't notice I was standing in the hallway. Her voice was sharp, vicious. "I'm trapped, like a fuxing maid, like a breeding cow. I hate this life. I hate them." Them, meaning me, meaning our kids. That was the night I installed cameras and voice recorders around the house. I felt like a traitor, like a failure of a husband for even considering it. But something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. And if protecting my children meant crossing lines I never imagined crossing, then so be it. What I found made me sick. Hours of footage of Sam screaming at the kids for the smallest mistakes, making Brielle scrub floors for dropping a cup of water, punishing Mason by locking him in the dark laundry room for crying when he missed me, and always the same twisted justification, telling them they were spoiled, ungrateful, anchors around her neck. The woman I loved, the mother of my children, had become a stranger, a cruel, angry stranger. But the final blow didn't come from the cameras. It came one evening when I got home early from work. Sam didn't hear me come in. She was in the living room, pacing, talking on speakerphone with a friend from her online group. "I'm gonna set him up," she said, her voice casual, like she was talking about returning a sweater. "If I get a few scratches and cry a little, he'll never see those kids again. And I'll get the house, the car, everything." The friend laughed and said, "About time you stopped being his little servant. Burn it all down." I stood frozen behind the half-closed door, my heart pounding so loud I thought they might hear it through the phone. Sam was planning to destroy me. Not just leave me, but annihilate me. I backed away slowly, not making a sound, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. That's when I realized, if I didn't act first, I'd lose everything I loved most in this world. And I had less time than I thought. I don't even remember driving that night. I just know I ended up parked at the far end of a grocery store lot, sitting in the dark, gripping the steering wheel until my hands hurt. How did it get this bad? How did the woman I loved turn into someone planning to gut me like an enemy? I must have sat there for hours, running through every memory, every sacrifice, every small moment we had built together. None of it mattered now. Sam had made her choice. And if I didn't fight back, I was going to lose my kids, my home, maybe even my freedom if she made good on her threats. By the time I drove back, my mind was clear. Crystal clear. No more second chances. No more hoping she'd come to her senses. I had a family to protect. And that started with gathering every piece of evidence I could find before she realized I knew. The next morning, I told Sam I had to work overtime all weekend. She barely looked up from her phone, just grunted. Perfect. I kissed the kids goodbye, pretending everything was normal, and left. I circled the block and parked 2 streets over, heart pounding like a drumline. When I snuck back inside, it felt like robbing my own home. I went straight to her laptop. Thankfully, Sam wasn't exactly tech-savvy. She had left her email logged in, wide open like an unlocked diary. What I found made my stomach turn. Hundreds of emails and DMS. Some from men she met through those forms, some from strangers she'd solicited. Promises of money, screenshots of Venmo transfers, even nude photos exchanged for donations. Some emails spelled it out. Get away from your abusive husband. Here's $500. Stay strong, Queen. Except there was no abuse. No prison. Just a woman playing the victim for cash, betraying the people who trusted her, and tearing our kids apart in the process. I screenshotted everything, backed up her entire inbox to an external drive. Same with her text messages, pictures, call logs, anything that could expose who she had become. When I finished, I sat back in the office chair, feeling hollow. This wasn't just a bad patch. Sam had chosen this. She wasn't trapped. She wasn't confused. She was a full participant in her own self-destruction, and she was willing to take down our children with her if it meant a bigger payday. Later that night, I made 2 calls. First, to my oldest friend Jake, a private investigator. We hadn't talked in a while, but I didn't have time for pride. Within an hour, Jake agreed to help me track Sam's financial activities and communications, free of charge. Second, to a divorce lawyer Jake recommended, a pit bull in courtrooms, specializing in high-conflict custody battles. It was happening. I was officially going to war. But no battle starts without the enemy noticing. And Sam was no fool. 2 days later, while I was still coordinating with my lawyer, she confronted me. I was folding laundry when she marched into the living room, holding her phone up like a weapon. "You've been spying on me," she hissed. "You invaded my privacy. That's illegal." I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Protecting my kids isn't illegal." Her face twisted into something almost demonic. She screamed that I was abusive, controlling, a misogynist who wanted to erase her existence. She screamed so loud that Mason ran into the room, tears in his eyes. I knelt down, scooped him into my arms, and whispered, "It's okay, buddy. Daddy's got you." When I looked back up, Sam was recording us, me cradling a crying 5-year-old, with the most evil smirk I had ever seen. "You're gonna look so good in court," she said coldly. My blood ran cold. She wasn't just fighting for custody. She was trying to fabricate a narrative, stage it. And she didn't care if she traumatized our kids in the process. But she underestimated me. Thanks to the audio recorder hidden in the laundry basket and the security cameras I had installed, everything was already on record. Her threats, her admissions, her staged outbursts. I gently stood up, still holding Mason, and said, "I hope you smiled for the cameras." Her smirk faltered for just a split second, but it was enough. That night, as she slept, I packed emergency bags for the kids, uploaded every bit of evidence to a cloud server, triple-checked that my lawyer had copies, because tomorrow I was filing for sole custody, and Sam had no idea that she was about to lose everything. Filing for custody was like lighting a stick of dynamite and waiting for the boom. The morning after I packed the emergency bags, I walked into my lawyer's office with shaking hands and a folder thick with evidence. He didn't even finish his coffee before telling me, "You have a strong case. We'll file today. Emergency motion." He explained that, given the recordings, Sam threatening to fake abuse, emotionally abusing the kids, plotting to take them for leverage. The judge would likely grant me temporary full custody until a full hearing. I nodded. It all sounded logical. Fair. But I underestimated how far Sam was willing to go when cornered. That afternoon, before the paperwork was even processed, the police showed up at my door. Mason and Brielle were coloring at the kitchen table when the knock came. 2 officers, stern faces. They asked me to step outside. One of them read from a clipboard. "We have a report of suspected domestic violence, specifically physical abuse of your minor children." The world tilted. It took everything in me not to explode right there, not to scream that it was all a setup. Instead, I kept my voice steady and said, "You're welcome to review the security footage. It's all time-stamped and backed up." They agreed. I invited them in, let them sit at my computer, played back days of footage, me packing lunches, helping Mason with his homework, reading bedtime stories to Brielle, tucking them in with forehead kisses. 0 yelling, 0 hitting, just a tired dad doing his best. After about 20 minutes, the younger officer leaned back and sighed heavily. "Sir, I'm sorry. We have to follow up on every report, but it's clear you're not the problem." The older officer turned off the monitor, looking frustrated. "We get these cases sometimes. False reports. It's ugly." They left without taking further action, but the damage was done. My neighbors had seen the police at my door. My kids had seen them too. Mason clung to my leg for hours afterward. Sam was escalating. She wasn't just trying to win, she was trying to destroy me. 2 days later, we were in court for the emergency custody hearing. Sam showed up wearing a loose blouse with what looked like faint scratch marks on her arms. She sobbed dramatically when the judge asked why she was requesting full custody. "He's dangerous," she cried. "He's unstable. He hurts me and the kids." I sat there, gripping the edge of the table so hard my knuckles turned white, while my lawyer calmly presented the security footage, the audio recordings, the financial scams, the messages about faking injuries. When the judge asked Sam to explain the contradictions, she stammered and switched tactics, claiming I had hacked her devices, fabricated evidence, and was weaponizing technology to oppress her. It would have been laughable if it weren't so terrifying. The judge wasn't amused. He granted me temporary full custody on the spot and ordered Sam to undergo a psychiatric evaluation before being allowed any visitation. I thought it was over. I thought I could breathe again. I was wrong. That night, after putting the kids to bed, I heard a noise outside. I peeked through the blinds, and my blood ran ice cold. Sam was standing on the lawn, barefoot, staring at the house. In her hands, she held a gas can. Before I could react, she poured gasoline along the front steps. I grabbed my phone, called 911, and sprinted to the kids' room. I locked the door, shoved a dresser in front of it, my heart hammering in my ears. From the window, I saw her strike a match. The flame flickered, but the gas didn't catch. Sam dropped the match, confused, trying again and again. What she didn't know, what saved our lives, was that I had already sprayed the porch earlier that day with fire-retardant foam, following my lawyer's advice after the false police call. Sam kept trying, screaming at the top of her lungs. "You ruined my life! You ruined everything! I have nothing left!" The police pulled up seconds later, tackling her before she could do anything worse. From behind the window, holding my terrified kids close, I watched the woman I once loved get dragged away in handcuffs, wild-eyed, shrieking. But the worst wasn't over, because the officers found something else in her bag: a note, a suicide letter, and a plan to take the kids with her. The night after Sam was arrested, I sat on the living room floor, holding my kids while they slept against my chest. I kept replaying everything: the gasoline, the matches, the note. She was ready to kill all of us. I couldn't breathe just thinking about it. But once the numbness wore off, something else started to grow inside me. A cold, focused rage. She tried to take my life. She tried to take their lives. There would be no mercy. By morning, I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was planning. First, I filed for a permanent restraining order, emergency hearing. The judge granted it immediately after reviewing the evidence. Sam was legally forbidden from coming within 500 feet of me or the kids. Then, my lawyer filed motions to strip Sam of all parental rights, citing attempted arson, child endangerment, and mental instability. If granted, it meant Sam would never see Brielle or Mason again. Ever. The motions alone were devastating, but I wasn't finished. Jake, my private investigator friend, had found something while digging through Sam's financial records. Something that made my blood run colder than anything else. Sam wasn't just scamming strangers online. She was running multiple fake GoFundMe campaigns under different names, pretending to be abused women, cancer patients, even single moms with sick kids. Tens of thousands of dollars stolen. I handed it all over to the police. Fraud, wire fraud, identity theft, federal charges. Meanwhile, Sam's former friends, those radical forum women she thought had her back, started to distance themselves the moment things got serious. Some even sent anonymous tips to law enforcement to cover their own asses. Sam was alone now. No army, no supporters. Just the cold reality closing in on her. I should have felt satisfied. I should have felt victorious. Instead, all I felt was tired, broken, until I got a call that changed everything. It was from Jake. "Logan, you need to sit down." He had found a hidden email account, buried under layers of fake identities, connected to a private encrypted cloud folder. He sent me the access link. I clicked it. My hands shook so badly, I almost dropped my phone. Inside were hundreds of videos, not of strangers, not of scams, of me, of my children, of our home. Sam had been secretly filming us for years, without my consent, without the kids' knowledge. Every vulnerable moment, every meltdown, every tear, clipped, edited, twisted. She had been collecting evidence for years to build a fake narrative, preparing for the day she would destroy me completely. In some videos, she whispered fake commentary over the footage. "See how he scares them? Look how sad she is because of him." In others, she prompted the kids with leading questions while I wasn't around. "Are you scared of Daddy? Does Daddy yell at you when I'm not here?" My knees buckled. I sat on the floor, staring at the screen, feeling physically sick. This wasn't impulsive madness. This wasn't a sudden breakdown. Sam had been planning to destroy me from the very beginning. Years before the fights. Years before the empowerment groups. Before I ever knew anything was wrong. She married me, had children with me, while plotting my downfall the whole time. Every memory I thought was real, every smile, every whispered, "I love you," was poisoned. I didn't just lose my wife. I lost the entire foundation of my life. And the worst part? There was one final video, titled simply, Plan B. I hesitated. My finger hovered over the play button, my heart hammering. I tapped it. And that's when I realized Sam wasn't acting alone. The moment I watched that Plan B video, the final puzzle piece slammed into place. Sam wasn't just spiraling on her own. She had help. From someone who should have been protecting me too. Her accomplice was my old college friend, Kyle. Kyle, who I'd trusted enough to be the best man at my wedding. Kyle, who used to show up at our barbecues, laughing and playing with our kids. In the video, it was clear. Kyle and Sam were talking casually, planning how to manipulate me, how to set me up. Kyle even suggested tactics, how to provoke me, how to capture fake evidence, how to slowly isolate me from everyone. Apparently, it started years ago when Sam confided in Kyle about feeling trapped. Instead of giving sane advice or suggesting therapy, Kyle fanned the flames, told her she deserved better, that I was holding her back, that she was too good for a boring suburban life. And eventually, he wanted something else too. Her. Betrayal stacked on betrayal. Fueled by rage I hadn't thought possible, I gave everything to my lawyer and Jake. Within days, criminal charges against Sam expanded to include Kyle. Wire fraud. Conspiracy. child endangerment, attempted arson, identity theft. But that wasn't the real punishment. The real punishment was what happened when the truth hit the court system and the world. The judge granted me full and permanent custody. Sam's parental rights were terminated. Kyle lost his job when word of the conspiracy spread. He had been working at a company that specialized in child safety software. The irony was disgusting. Both of them were facing serious prison time. Kyle took a plea deal, rolled on Sam, and ended up serving 5 years. Sam wasn't so lucky. When the final sentencing came, I sat in the back of the courtroom, heart hammering. Sam shuffled into the courtroom in handcuffs, wearing a dull gray jumpsuit, her hair matted and face pale. Gone was the confident, manipulative woman who once thought she could destroy me and walk away smiling. She tried to address the court, rambling about how she was a victim too, that society trapped her, that motherhood stole her dreams. The judge wasn't buying it. When he sentenced her to 22 years without parole, she collapsed in sobs on the floor. I didn't cheer. I didn't gloat. I simply stood up, took Brielle and Mason's hands, and walked out of that courtroom into the sunlight. We were free. It hasn't been easy. Therapy sessions, nightmares, hard questions from the kids that no parent should ever have to answer. But we're healing. Together. Last weekend, we went camping for the first time since everything happened. Sitting around the fire, Brielle leaned her head against my shoulder and whispered, "Daddy, I'm glad you fought for us." I almost broke right there. But I held it together. Because that's what fathers do. That's what real family looks like. I look back sometimes and wonder how it all fell apart. How much was manipulation? How much was her choice? I don't know if I'll ever fully untangle that mess. But what I do know is this. When someone tries to destroy your life, you don't just survive. You rebuild, stronger, smarter, and with a heart that no betrayal can ever fully kill.